Daith da, how we doing? Welcome to podcast number 23. I hope you're all well. I hope you've had a good week. My week's been a bit different, and the reason for that is we have managed to get away for a few days. Always in the past, we never really had holidays. When I started with Father right the way through, and I suppose 'tis only in the last 6 or 7 years, perhaps, we try to manage to get a week away if we can every year, maybe a long weekend in and out. But life goes by so quickly, and before you know it, you're getting old. So anyway, we try to get a week a year, but Beth was 50 in January, and she said she always wanted to go to Scotland. And about 3 weeks ago, I could see that we had a little window where we could have perhaps a long weekend away. So we grabbed the bull by the horns and looked on the internet, and we managed to get a little one-bedroom cottage right on the banks of Loch Lomond, right at the water's edge. So I worked all day Wednesday, went home, had me tea, obviously saw Mother, and then we started the long drive. So the plan was that I would drive until we got tired, and then we'd find a hotel for the night and then do the rest of the journey to Thursday morning. And I suppose it was getting about 10:30, and we got to close to Bromsgrove. So I said to Beth, you get on the phone and get on the internet and get us a hotel room somewhere. I couldn't believe it, all booked up. Everyone we tried, all booked up. And then she did find one. So we went and pulled in their car park and went inside, and the woman there behind the counter, she said, so sorry, she said, we meant to update it. Unfortunately, we'm fully booked too. And she said, you ain't going to find nowhere free, because she said they down south are on half term this week and they're all up here on holiday. So we thought, crumbs, what are us going to do now? So I could add visions of, I could picture exactly what Mary and Joseph was going through. And I said to Beth, in a minute, you're going to have to start Googling stables, and we're going to have to get her head down there somewhere for the night. But what we decided to do was I'd keep on driving and she'd keep on looking on the phone until we found a hotel. So anyway, I did keep on driving, and then at last she said, I found one. So I said, right, grab it. And she said, 'tis very good. She said, 'tis only a third of the price of the other hotels, which I thought, well, I don't know what that means, but we'll go for it. So we booked it online, and we pulled up in the car park, and honestly, it was deserted. The door was locked. And I thought, oh, God, they've shut down. And we was just going to pull off, and Beth said, I'll just walk round the corner. And she come back. She saw there is a side door for their reception, and they are open. So that was good. So we went in, and dear old Mehdi behind the counter, he was quite a character, really. At first looks, you could have thought he should have been an extra in the Addams Family or something like that. But he was a lovely chap. When he started talking and I started talking, we couldn't understand a thing each of us was saying. And down here, as you know, if you see somebody, you normally say, how be doing? And they'd say, yeah, right on, whatever. Well, of course, back when I was younger, we used to actually say, how be knacking? I always see Al Nance, and first thing you'd say, how be knacking? And he'd always answer back, knacking brave. Well, if I tried that up there, there was just silence. So I thought, I'm going to have to watch what I say here to communicate through what we wanted to do. But we managed to talk and understand each other. We then had to show how to work the credit card machine, but we got that sorted, and we got into our room. Well, I think it was just gone 12. So we had quite a good night's sleep. It was a bit Spartan, really, but bed was pretty comfortable. And then we woke up about 6, and then got down, had breakfast, and we was on the road again by 7 o'clock. I must admit, that experience did make me think of things you used to say years ago you don't say anymore, and like how we knack, and I used to love saying that. So I think I must start saying that again. So I think when I start my podcast from now on, if I remember, that's how I'm going to start them. So off we headed, and on our journey then, a bit further along the road, we saw the sign for Lockerbie, and we thought we'd just pop in there into their Garden of Remembrance just to pay our respects, and that's what we did. It was quite a sobering experience, really. Perhaps some of the younger ones there might not remember, but it was back in December 1988, and it was the Pan Am flight was actually flying over Lockerbie when a bomb that was planted on the plane exploded, and I think there were 243 passengers on there that was killed, 16 crew. And also what happened was large sections of the airplane actually landed in Lockerbie in a residential street, and 11 residents were killed there as well. I think it was 270 people were killed all in all. And it was quite a sobering experience there. And then I did put a photo of the memorial on my Facebook page, actually, and I think Steve Collop and Sally Bate, they both got in touch to remind me that Billy McAllister was actually killed there that night, and he used to be the pro golfer there at St Enodoc Golf Club. So, like I say, after staying there for a little while, we then got back in the van and we headed off to Loch Lomond. So we arrived at our little cottage, and it was handsome, I tell you. It was right on the banks of Loch Lomond, right on the water's edge. It was fantastic. So we unloaded all the gear and everything, and we then went out. I had to do a 6-mile run that night, training for the marathon. So we went for a little run. So that was good along the round part of the loch. And then we went out for tea. And first night, Beth was a bit more adventurous than me, and they actually had a vegan haggis there. So she actually went for that. I went for vegan chili con carne, but she went for the haggis, and she thoroughly enjoyed that. So that was the end of that day. And the following day, the weather was pretty good. So we'd taken all our push bikes up. So we took the road bikes out, and we did, I think it's 48 miles, something like that day on the road bikes. It was quite sunny. Where we went wasn't that hilly, really, although there was a few interesting hills, shall I put it that way. I think we actually did, over the ride, about 5,000 foot of climbing, but it wasn't too bad at all. The following day, the weather wasn't quite so good, so we took the mountain bikes out there and went round the trail, and we was actually staying between Balloch and Luss. So that day we thought we would head to Luss, and I don't know if some of you can remember, but there was a program, it was a sitcom in the 80s called You Take the High Road, and that was actually filmed there in Luss. And again, I put a few photos on my Facebook page, because the thing that struck me most about that village was that there was no houses. It was all single-story cottages, and you might say, well, surely that's a bungalow, but they was cottages, but just single-story. And it was, that's the one thing that jumped out at me. But I must admit, I never did watch that program, but I expect you could still watch it on YouTube or something. I'm not too sure. But that was that day, and then the following day was when I had to run 12 mile that day. So that took me, nearly a couple of hours there. I went out for my training run. And then the last full day we decided we'd climb Ben Lomond. About 18 months ago, I suppose, we did go, with me, Beth and Andrea, we did climb Snowdon. And that was for Alzheimer's Society that time, raising a bit of money. So we thought we'd try this. This was a similar sort of height, I think. So we went and we parked up, and if you look on the internet, it says you've got to get there early because the car park gets pretty full. Well, when we got there was about 2 other cars there. So we parked up, and I had read that there's an easy way to go up and a hard way. So anyway, we only found one path. So I thought, well, if we start going up this path, it's bound then to split into two, and we don't want to go up the north face. We want to go up the easy way. So off we went, and we couldn't find no split in the path at all, and I'm sure we went up the hard way. It was hellish, to some steep in places, and to start off with, we was sweating like pigs. I had me tweed coat on and 3 layers underneath, and me St. Piran's cycling bubble hat, and sweating like hang I was. And Beth said too, she said we got too many layers on, but we couldn't do nothing about it. And then we got about a third of the way up, and then the mist started arriving. And then when we got about 2/3 up, that's when the wind and the sleet appeared. We then got to what we thought was nearly the top, because you couldn't tell because there was so much mist and fog. And that's when we saw the snow lying around. So we took a couple of selfies there, on the snow that was there. And then we met 2 other blokes, the first people we'd seen on the climb. And we said, are us nearly there yet or no? And they said, yep, you nearly, well, they didn't speak like that. But basically they said, yep, you nearly there. 'Tis about 20 meters, whatever that is in feet, up the top. So off we went, and what a fantastic feeling. When we got up to the top, we took the photos and selfies, and the 2 objectives that day, one was to get to the top and the other was to see the fantastic views, and you couldn't see a thing. It was so misty, it reminded me of when we used to go sixth form, and we'd leave Wadebridge in the morning and the sun would be shining, and you just get the other side of Penwithwick, and where the clay tips are, well, they call them the Cornish Alps, and then the fog would appear. And to be overcast there in Snozzle all day, and then you come back and there'd be Mother brown as a berry. And I said, you been out in the sun all day, Mother? She said, oh no, I just went out for our dinner time. Well, the fog was just like that fog. You couldn't see a blimmin' thing, but at least we got to the top. So then we headed on down, and that's when disaster struck. I suppose the cause of it was a mixture of different things. Obviously, we were streaming leaking anyway. I didn't have any gloves, so I had my sleeves pulled down over my hands because my hands was freezing. But also we was pretty elated that we'd actually got to the top, and we just wanted to get back to the car, and perhaps we was going a bit too fast, I don't know. And I'm not saying that I'm clumsy, because I don't think I am clumsy, but if ever anybody falls over or crashes on their push bike or anything, like the time I did down in Mosul, it always seems to be me. And sure enough, we was partway down. I caught me left foot in this jagged rock, went to put me right foot out to steady myself, tripped there, and I went down a heller. And my hands, because they was up me sleeves, I couldn't get me arms out in time, and the whole pressure of the weight of myself went down on me left knee, and I was down on the floor. Me bubble hat had flew off, and I was feeling quite sorry for myself, to be honest. And the main thought that went through me head while I was there lying there was thinking, oh crumbs, have I beggared up me knee when I got this marathon to run? So I did lie there for a minute. I couldn't get up. So anyway, eventually I did, and I limped on for 5-10 minutes, and then it did ease a little bit. So I say I did feel sorry for myself, but we got down to the bottom, got in the car, and got back and had a shower, and all was well. And then we went out for a quick drive before we had tea. So that was okay. And then the next day it was time to head home. So we set off about 8:15 in the morning. And it took us 9 hours and 4 minutes. So we got home, just after 6:15. So all was well there. And then I put all my photos up on Facebook that evening, which was quite funny, really, because I never put photos up while I'm away. And, of course, we've had a few quite large funerals since I've been back, and people have been turning up saying, what are you doing here? I thought you was in Scotland. But, so that was our adventure anyway, being away up in Scotland. While I was up there, I did look into the significance of the quote, you'll take the high road, and etc. And I did find that it was actually a song that was written about 2 Scottish soldiers, and they were imprisoned, I think it was in Carlisle, in the castle there in England. And I think one was to be executed the next day and the other was to be set free to go home. They might have been brothers. I'm not too sure if that's true or no. And the Celtic, I thought it was quite nice, really, because the Celtic belief is that if you're killed or you die while you're on a foreign land, while you're abroad, then your soul will take the low road direct back to your home country, the direct route. And whereas the soldiers, like the one that wasn't going to be executed, they would have to walk back home over the hills and the mountains and whatever to get home. So the actual spirit of the dead soldier would arrive back home in the Celtic homeland, before the living would. And I thought that was quite a nice thought. And being Celts down here in Cornwall, I thought that was perhaps a nice thing to end this podcast on. And of course, that song is actually called Loch Lomond. So I think that's about it. I didn't really mean to ramble on quite as much about this, and I was then going to go on about the Cornish tartans and the kilts and everything, but I think I'll leave that for another podcast. At least that'll give me information to talk about, for another one. And for me, Cornish word this week, I thought I'd go for one. I don't think I've said it before, but I thought I'd go for the Cornish word for hill, because it's Bray, B-R-E or B-R-E-A. And of course, up in Scotland, the Gaelic is also Bray, but that's B-R-A-E. So it was quite similar. So I thought I'd go for that. But I think that's it for this week. I hope you've enjoyed it. And I say, it's nice to leave you with that thought that taking the high road or the low road. There we go. See you next week. Hope you have a good week. Wish you well. De Guinness.